Jijón à Soledad. On va faire un petit masterclass. Pepe, c'est quelqu'un aussi qu'on porte haut dans notre cœur. Et avec son fils qui a 19 ans et qui est très décidé à suivre ce que fait papa, enfin en tout cas le café. Pepe, c'est l'exemple même du fermier. Tout à l'heure, j'ai parlé de café de la souffrance pour l'époque coloniale. On a le café de la subsistance un peu pour les producteurs, on l'a vu, qui ont du mal à gagner leur vie. Pepe, c'est l'exemple même du caféiculteur qui a choisi. Le café, c'est un choix de vie et il va vous expliquer tout ça. Merci.
Après une vie sportive et bien remplie, Pepe décide de s'investir pleinement dans la culture du café avec sa Finca Soledad. Mais pas n'importe comment. Avec sa vision holistique de l'arbre à la tasse, en respect du vivant et de la nature, Pepe dessine une autre manière de produire et de communiquer le café. Agroforesterie, variétés rares et traitement de chaque cerise de café comme d'un joyau. Récemment élu Most Notable Producer lors des Sprudgy Awards en 2024, et avec son café utilisé par plusieurs compétiteurs dans divers championnats nationaux et mondiaux, tout semble sourire à Finca Soledad. Malgré la reconnaissance de la profession pour la qualité exceptionnelle de ses cafés, Pepe défend surtout une approche sensible, basée sur de petits volumes, une production familiale et un respect profond de la nature. J'ai le plaisir d'accueillir Pepe José et son fils José. Est-ce que Pepe, tu souhaiterais dire quelques mots?
En français. Quelques mots en français.
Je peux parler en français?
Un petit peu.
Oui, c'est un grand plaisir pour moi d'être ici. On vient d'arriver de Copenhague, mais je ne m'attendais pas à une réception comme ça. La qualité des gens, les sourires, l'énergie, surtout les cafés. Comme on dit en anglais, you walk the talk. On parle du café, mais on boit du bon café aussi. Au Copenhague, on devrait avoir des amis pour avoir un bon café. C'est démocratique, on partage et merci beaucoup pour ça, Pierre, parce que c'est le barista et les gens qui sont derrière de faire le café qui nous permettent. Donc je devais vraiment être honnête, c'est incroyable, c'est ici. Merci.
Alright, so as I know that you think that the coffee speaks for itself, we may perhaps try the coffee first.
Okay. Lent, volatile, juicy.
So we are now tasting the geisha.
Complex. What would you say? Coffees?
I would say red apple, liquid acidity, mouth-watering, and also a velvety bite, I would say. Alright. So this geisha wave, this is behind this. Of course, we understand that there are rare varieties that you produce every coffee in a very holistic way, so with a care for nature. But more precisely, there is something with you, Pepe, about the wave philosophy. Could you please tell us more?
Yes, people ask about what wave processing means, and actually wave is not a processing, it's more a philosophy, a perception of understanding nature, listening to nature, listening to the language of birds, insects, how the pickers are feeling, where the mood is in that moment. So we try to make, as you said, an holistic approach on coffee, so our lots are not replicable. People always ask, can you make the same process? And I'm like, I can't. You know, it's nature speaking for itself, and hopefully it will be beautiful, maybe not, so we will just try again. We are very respectful of nature, and we deeply believe that coffee has a soul of its own. And when someone roasts it, when someone brews it, there is an energy flow into that coffee, and the perception of the drink will change. Regardless, let's say we send a coffee to Rotterdam, we send a coffee to Paris, we send a coffee to the United States, it will taste differently. And why is that? It's magic. We cannot explain. Some things in life you cannot understand. And I do think that coffee is part of that magic that binds us together as human and allows us to be a part of the experience. The consumer is a part of the experience as much as the roaster, as much as the barista, as much as the producer. We are entangled, we are in a biodynamic environment, we are part of what we drink. It's so magic. I'm a philosopher. I learned French all my life, so I went to French school. So l'esprit critique, l'analytique, voilà, pour moi c'est très important.
So behind everything, behind this, and of course the mindfulness that you have when you produce coffee, you are also very precise with the varieties and the techniques that you use. You recently upgraded your ability to dry coffee. This was a real cost for you, and this is a decision that you took a long time to go for, because as a coffee producer, of course, we invest a lot, but then we take somehow years to receive the income for this investment. So why did you make this choice to change your drying facility, and how does it work?
Yes, to traveling, my first trip to Panama, I think around 2020, I got the chance to meet Jameson Savage and other amazing producers in Panama, and we got to share, because I think in the coffee community there is a lot more sharing than not sharing. So that's, I think, is an example to the world about how to grow together. I always try to think of things as on the positive side. Like when you watch the news, you always see bad things, no? So don't watch the news. So I start traveling, and I learned, and I got a little bit more perception of how could I make the coffee taste better. Because I always say that the coffee in the cherry is 90 plus. And then us humans start making errors, mistakes, 89.5, 89, 88, 86, 88. So it's pretty much like a responsibility, like a work of art that nature makes almost perfectly for us to express in that way. So when we talk about drying, and also Jameson said about, we don't talk enough about drying. Drying is so important. Like, let's say you talk about fermentation. We ferment coffee for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days. Well, we dry coffee for 40 days. That's a much longer period. But we don't talk about how that happens, what's the changes that happen inside the coffee bean. Because I'm going to say something maybe a little radical here. And when you talk about wine, for example, you have the crate, right, which you press, you take the juice, which you ferment, you put it in a bottle, you wait for some time, and then you pop up and drink, okay? In coffee, it's a lot more complicated, because you don't drink the juice of the coffee, okay? You don't eat the flesh. You actually consume the seed. And not only that, you have to roast it. So the transformation and the complexity of making coffee, in a way, it's more complex than wine. Sorry for saying that, but it is. And even for you as consumers, it's more complex. Because when you have wine, you open the bottle, decant maybe, and drink. What do you do with a bag of $100, 100 grams of beautiful Panamagation? You need to know grinding, you need to know water, you need to know extraction rate, you need to know time. So it involves a lot more connectivity, again going to that. Finally coming back into the drying facility, I think that when you dry with the sun, you are taking the humidity away, but you are also taking a lot of volatiles, magic stuff that is inside the bean and the cherry that disappears because of the heat of the sun. So we've learned a little bit in Panama and also adapted a bit to Ecuador, an idea of dehydrating coffee, trying to absorb the energy into the seed, which is the most complex part, so that we could express it better on the roasting. And as Pierre also said, the beauty of coffee is in the seed. It's not in something that you would infuse it or you would co-ferment with. The beauty should be itself in the seed. So that's why we are seeing an evolution that went up into infusion of coffees, but it's now coming back to nature. It's coming back to washed. And now it's like water. Water is the most precious thing we have in life. It's not a Coca-Cola, it's not whatever else. No? So I think it's beautiful what's happening again in coffee, and we're super excited, was it right?
And this is something as well with you is obviously you speak 5 different languages. You are very well educated. You could decide to do basically whatever you want in life, and I'm sure you would have success. But you decide to do coffee as a real choice and also as a way of living. And you decide to do it as a family as well. I know this is something key for you, and a fair example of this is that Jose, you are here with us today. And that's the same for you. You could do basically whatever you want. You traveled a lot, you know a lot of the world. Why do you want to work as a family with Pepe?
First of all, hello. My name is Jose. I'm 19 years old, and well, to answer your question, for me, I've had the blessing to be able to grow alongside the plants in the farm in Finca Soledad. Throughout hard work and dedication, seeing my dad suffer and also thrive, I've managed to collect a lot of values throughout farming, like for example being resilient, being kind, knowing that there's no stopping progress, there's just pausing it, because what stands in the way becomes the way. And yeah, now actually I would love to talk about getting this opportunity also to mention that the new adventure of ours called Finca San Pedro. It's a new adventure that I'm proudly head of. And yeah, it's been a blessing knowing all that knowledge that my dad and my family has given to me, to be able to make nature something that you can be proud of and be also a good representative of. So, because as the Stoics say, we should live in accordance with nature, knowing that we don't own any land. We're just guardians and students of nature. That will always be like that. Well, I have literally the greatest dad I could have ever asked for in every sense of the way. He's hard on me when he needs to, and he's sweet with me when he needs to also. And having the best mom in the world, having the best daughters, the best sister, I've just been blessed with so much knowledge too, with meeting amazing people, coffee people, and yeah.
This is truly inspiring. And, thank you for sharing. And this is key as well, because we've seen the coffee farms where people, like in every agriculture aspect, not just coffee, but the young generation going away from the production at this is not sustainable, or this is not sexy anymore to be a producer. And hearing that is truly inspiring, I guess, for the whole industry. Thank you very much. I'd just like to stress a little bit on the cup, as this is a tasting masterclass. On what we have on the left with the white part, I guess. No, with the blue part, I'm sorry, is the Sidra washed. Sidra is a very specific variety, especially in Equateur right now. It has its distinctive characters. Would you like Pepe to speak a little bit about Sidra?
Okay, thank you, Jose, for your words. Sidra, as all coffee, comes from Ethiopia, right? So all of them come from there. So Sidra is a landrace. It's considered to be the landrace. It's a beautiful, very clean cup. I think it's starting to adapt in Ecuador, as well as Finca Mejorada, which are the two varietals that are becoming like a flagship of coffee in Ecuador. I think they still need more time to enjoy the terroir and express themselves better, like Panamanian and Geisha. But I still think it's a very clear, sweet, like a young blossom. It's something very special in coffee, and I'm very proud of being able to make washed coffees and natural coffees, although in time, even my son is pushing me to do more washed. He's like, you shouldn't do any more natural, you shouldn't ferment so much, you should do clear washed coffee. So if a young guy like that has that perception, I think we're on the right path, you know. We do not represent the totality of the coffee producers in the world. I could say maybe we are the lucky ones, or the ones that by some way got to become pioneers or have a little fame or something like that. But the reality, as Arnaud said, is like 98% of the producers of the world are not doing well. Coffee is not thriving as it should because it's not sustainable. When I traveled around the world to see coffee producers, I would always see them working so hard to make coffee happen, but at the end of the day, they wouldn't have money to educate their children. And that shouldn't be like that. And the only way we can change that, and that's my thinking at night, trying to understand what to do, I think it's a matter of the consumer needs to understand that behind a cup of coffee, there is so much work. It's not just a dark, hot beverage. It's a potion, it's a medicine, and that's what we should get. If we understand as consumers, we can demand the industry to pay better wages and to have a more sustainable world. Because at the end of the day, we are just coffee artisans. We are working family, but what we want is the majority of people to have a better standard of living. Therefore.
That was perfect.